This isn't another video promising a quick fix. This is a video about the real fight. Not just the fight against weight, but the fight against misinformation, against a confusing healthcare system, and against the feeling that you're doing everything right and still getting nowhere. Let's talk about Sarah. Sarah is a 2-year-old project manager from Toronto. She's sharp, successful, and for the last decade, she's been in a battle she keeps losing. Her A1C levels have crept into the pre-diabetic range. Her LDL cholesterol is flagged on every lab report. And the visceral fat around her midsection isn't just a vanity issue. Her doctor calls it a metabolic red flag. Like millions of North Americans, Sarah heard the buzz about GLP-1 agonists. Drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy felt like a light at the end of the tunnel. Her doctor agreed, wrote the prescription, and sent it off. Then the letter arrived. Prior authorization denied. The justification? Her plan doesn't cover weight loss medication without a type 2 diabetes diagnosis. To her insurance company, her fight wasn't a medical necessity. It was cosmetic. The out-of-pocket cost? Over $1,300 a month. An impossible sum. Sarah felt a familiar wave of despair. She was trapped, priced out of the miracle cure, and abandoned by the system designed to help her. So, like most of us, she turned to the internet. And that's where the real danger began. The maze of misinformation. Her social media feed became a war zone of conflicting advice. On one side, you have the extreme carnivore diet gurus promising salvation through steak and butter. On the other, you have influencers with no credentials pushing $80 a bottle gut-cleansing supplements. And then you have the seemingly gentle, all-natural advice from figures who tell you to fear killer fats and hybridized wheat, using folksy wisdom to dismiss modern medicine. It's a labyrinth of quick fixes and pseudoscience perfectly designed to prey on desperation. Sarah tried a bit of everything. She cut carbs so drastically she got dizzy at work. She bought the supplements, she drank the water. And after a month of exhaustion, the scale hadn't just stalled, it had gone up 2 pounds. The frustration was immense. This is the critical moment where most people give up. But what if the entire premise was wrong? What if the goal wasn't to find the one secret the gurus were selling, but to build a foundation so strong that she wouldn't need a secret? Let's break down the science they don't talk about in those viral clips. Let's start with the real enemy her doctor was concerned about, visceral fat. The visceral fat threat. Subcutaneous fat is the fat you can pinch under your skin. Visceral fat is different. It's an active inflammatory organ deep within your abdominal cavity, wrapped around your liver, pancreas, and intestines. It doesn't just sit there. It pumps out inflammatory cytokines and hormones that disrupt your entire metabolic function. A landmark study published in The Lancet linked higher levels of visceral adipose tissue, or VAT, directly to increased risks of cardiovascular disease and insulin resistance, independent of overall BMI. Think about that. A person who isn't overweight by standard charts can be at high risk if their visceral fat is too high. This is what Sarah's doctor saw in her blood work. This fat actively promotes insulin resistance. It tells your muscle and liver cells to ignore insulin's signal to absorb glucose from the blood. Your pancreas, in response, works overtime, pumping out more and more insulin until it eventually can't keep up. This is the path to prediabetes and eventually type 2 diabetes. So the question isn't just how to lose weight, but how do we specifically reduce this metabolically active inflammatory fat? The answer has 2 key parts, and neither involves a miracle cure. The first is nutrition, but with a focus on dampening the inflammatory fire, not just cutting calories. Instead of fearing entire food groups, Sarah needed to focus on 2 things: soluble fiber and protein. Soluble fiber, found in foods like oats, apples, beans, and avocados, forms a gel-like substance in the digestive tract. A 2011 study from Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center published in the journal Obesity showed that for every 10-gram increase in daily soluble fiber, the rate of visceral fat accumulation decreased by 3.7% over 5 years. It directly combats the enemy. Protein is the other pillar. Aiming for 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal helps with satiety, which reduces overall calorie intake. But more importantly, it helps preserve lean muscle mass during weight loss. Losing muscle is a metabolic disaster. It lowers your resting metabolic rate, making it easier to regain weight later. So Sarah's new breakfast wasn't a pastry or a green juice. It was Greek yogurt with berries and chia seeds. Simple, effective, no guru required. The non-scale victory. 3 weeks into this new approach, the scale had only moved down 4 pounds. Old Sarah would have seen this as a failure. But new Sarah noticed something else. She was on a conference call, a long, draining one that usually sent her straight to the vending machine for a sugar hit, but this time she felt fine. Even no energy crash. No desperate craving. That was the real victory. It was the first sign that she was fixing her metabolism from the inside out. This is what we call a non-scale victory, and it's infinitely more important than the number on the scale. This leads to the second and arguably most overlooked part of the equation, movement, but not the kind you think. NEAD and the power of low-level movement. We've all been told to hit the gym for 150 minutes a week. That's important, but what about the other 23 and a half hours in a day? The science points to something called non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or NEAT. It's the energy you burn doing everything that isn't formal exercise, or sleeping, walking to the car, fidgeting at your desk, doing chores, taking the stairs. For most people, Nebraska AT accounts for a far greater portion of daily caloric burn than a 30-minute workout. A person with an active lifestyle can burn hundreds of extra calories per day through NEAT compared to a sedentary person. Researchers at the Mayo Clinic have published extensively on this, highlighting that a decline in NEAT is a major contributor to modern obesity. It's the slow, consistent burn that keeps your metabolic engine humming. Sarah, a project manager, was chained to her desk, so she made small changes. She set a timer to stand up and stretch every 30 minutes. She took phone calls while pacing in her office. She started taking a 15-minute walk after lunch. It wasn't a punishing gym session, it was a gentle integration of movement throughout her day. This, combined with twice weekly strength training to build that precious muscle mass, started to compound. 2 months later, Sarah had her follow-up appointment. She was down 15 pounds, but more importantly, her fasting glucose was back in the normal range. Her energy was stable. She was sleeping better. She was still on the wait list for her medication, still battling the insurance company, but for the first time, she didn't feel helpless. She had taken back control of the variables she could influence. This journey isn't about rejecting medicine. GLP-1 drugs can be life-changing tools. This is about building a foundation of metabolic health so that if and when you do get access to those tools, your body is ready to respond. It ensures the results are sustainable because you've changed the underlying lifestyle, not just suppressed the symptoms. So what can you do right now? 1. Don't fear food. Understand its function. Prioritize protein and fiber at every meal. Look at a food label and find the fiber content. Aim for more than 5 grams per serving. 2. Embrace the non-scale victory. Is your energy more stable? Are your cravings reduced? Are your clothes fitting better? These are the true indicators of progress. 3. Become a master of NEAT. Find ways to weave low-level activity into your day. Park further away. Take the stairs. Pace when you're on the phone. Make movement your default state. The path to health in North America is filled with systemic obstacles from insurance denials to the flood of online misinformation. But the power to improve your metabolic health, to reduce inflammatory visceral fat, and to build a resilient foundation is still in your hands. Don't wait for a miracle. Start building your foundation today. Talk to your doctor or a registered dietitian to create a plan that is right for you. For more information on metabolic health, visit cdc.gov or the American Diabetes Association.